after the loss to the Kings, Kevin Durant, he spoke pretty candidly about all their situation, and he spoke to Bleacher Report. And look at this quote. "Look at our starting lineup: Edmund Sumner, Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, Nick Claxton, and me. It's not disrespect, but what are you expecting from that group? You expect us to win because I'm out there?" Well, it's funny because, like, you're one of the greatest players we've ever seen and one of the best scorers. So we'd like to welcome in our own Kendrick Perkins. But first, Wilbon, what do you make of Kevin Durant making these comments?
That's extreme candor. It's the kind of candor I've been doing this a long time. You don't hear in season a star player be that frank. And by the way, it sounds like, oh my God, he said it. And then you go, you know what? He's right. He is. Now, I don't know how that's going to play in the locker room. We are talking about a superstar who asked for a trade once this summer. When do we get back to that point is my question. And maybe they're better off going ahead and should have done this originally. But when he says that about that starting lineup, where do you go from there? If you're that team, if you're the coach, if you're Jacques Vaughn, and you're not interim, but still you're new to the situation, where do you go with this even if you get Kyrie back on Sunday?
Yeah, and that is the big question. I know one guy might think he has the answer because Kevin Durant right now, 30.3 points per game this season, 8th in the NBA. When it comes to Kevin Durant, Big Perk, where do you go from there? Because I know you had an idea earlier today on NBA Today.
And I still have the same idea. You trade Kevin Durant if you're Sean Marks. You do him a favor and trade him. Look, they got rid of Karis LeVert and Jared Allen for James Harden. That didn't work out when James Harden got to Brooklyn, so they end up having to trade James Harden for Ben Simmons, who we've seen is not that guy no more. So KD has been reliable since he has put on the Brooklyn Nets uniform. He's been available. He's been a walking bucket. He has gave everything and more. It's the others around him that has done him a disservice. And at this point, the Brooklyn Nets, even with Kyrie Irving, with this team currently constructed, they're not better than the Celtics. They're not better than the Bucks. They're not better than the Hawks. I don't even know if they're better than the Toronto Raptors, and definitely not better than the Cleveland Cavaliers. So if I'm Kevin Durant, I've run out of patience. I've given them more than enough time to try to fix things, get things right. And if you're Sean Marks, you gotta, at least think about him and say, you know what, I'm not gonna waste his time. Let me think about the future.
There is a faction of Brooklyn Nets fans that say, hey, maybe it can be better when Kyrie Irving is back. We look at the numbers. They have a 2-6 record when Kyrie is there this season. They played a little bit better without him, but we all know he's so talented, especially scoring and dribbling, one of the most underrated ball handlers. But where do you see Kyrie coming back potentially as soon as Sunday? Will this help right some of the wrongs that they've experienced as of late?
There was always a shelf life to the sort of post-Kyrie bump, right? They were playing bad teams, and they were playing hard. They were playing really well, but at some point the talent is the talent. But as Mike said, boy, oh boy, that comment. Anytime you preface something with no disrespect or does not disrespect, it's always a bad sign that disrespect is coming. And I agree with Perk. Look, like you just mentioned, Kyrie coming back. Why should we assume it's all peaches and cream now? It's never peaches and cream. It's always something with the Nets. So 2 weeks from now, it'll be something else. So the idea that we're just going to get 60 games of like, oh, now we have the team. Let's roll. Like, why would anything that's happened to that team convince us that that's what's going to happen next?
They've run out of benefit of the doubt. I mean, they've been a bad team with Kyrie. So why all of a sudden are we expecting him to be the remedy? The question is look, we know what this is results-based. If the Nets run off and win 6 of 7 with Kyrie, everybody's going to say, oh, see, they got Kyrie back. I don't expect that to happen. But if they lose 4 of 5 or 6 of 8, if they go back into this habit that they were in playing with him, Shanae, Perk is absolutely right. Not just do you think about Kevin Durant, you think about your own team. This has been 4 years of this. We are not talking about a small sample size any longer.
Yeah, well, the addition of Kyrie Irving is something that the Brooklyn Nets fans are going to be looking forward to.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.
Last night, Steph Curry, El Fuego on fire, scoring 50 points. He was continuing the offensive tear he's been on. Had 31 in the first half alone. It just wasn't enough for the Warriors in the Valley against the Suns. It's the 11th time he's at 50 in his career, but it was only the 3rd time that the Warriors have lost when he's reached that mark. The Warriors fell to 6-9 for the season, 0-8 on the road. So take a listen to Steve Kerr after the game.
We've got to We got to get everybody on board, on the same page in terms of just worrying about winning, and that's it. And I think for right now anyway, I think we're just scattered. It's a pickup game. There's no execution at either end, no sort of commitment to the group. I saw a lot of hanging heads tonight. I think we're feeling sorry for ourselves, and nobody's going to feel sorry for us. So everyone can't wait to play us and kick our ass.
So the Warriors, they've been the worst team on the road this season. They're allowing more than 124 points per game away from Chase Center, by far the most by any team this season. That's almost 13 more points than what they allow at home. So I want to bring in everybody here, welcoming in Brian Windhorst to the conversation. There's just a ton to dig into. But Perk, I want to start with you. When you are looking at the Warriors, what is most concerning to you when they are on the road?
You know what? I sit on here time and time again, and I come on here preaching. I preach about body language. I preach about just looking at guys' actions, the feeling, the camaraderie. And we saw that.
All right, as I mentioned, the
Golden State Warriors. This is the team that actually won the NBA championship last year. They don't have chemistry. The chemistry is gone right now. Now, will they get it back? I don't know, but right now it's not there. If you look at them across the board and watch how they're playing a whole bunch of individual basketball. It's not a team anymore. It's guys playing with hidden agendas. It was late in the second half last night. I watched Klay Thompson pull up for 2 bad shots on the other end. If you'd have watched the body language of Draymond Green along with the body language of Jordan Poole, they're having these problems. And then all of a sudden you see Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins, they get paid. All of a sudden they feel like they need a bigger role. But check these 2 plays out right here. That's one. Klay pull up again. Look at Draymond under the basket. He don't even get back on defense. He's not even interested. Look, he hanging his head. Steve Kerr pointed it out. He know that he have issues in the locker room. And again, I said this before, when the incident happened with Draymond Green and Jordan Poole, that this is going to be one of the biggest challenges in Steve Kerr's coaching career as the head coach of the Golden State Warriors. And here we are.
Brian, I know you were looking at Jordan Poole as well. What stood out to you?
When I both heard.
Yeah, I'm listening very closely what Steve Kerr is saying, and I'm taking under advisement what Perk is just mentioning there. And I do think that there's something there. I think a team that is famous for its chemistry definitely has issues to work through. But the reason that they're struggling with surviving Jordan Poole having poor shooting, because the thing about it is, he shot the ball really well in the preseason when he got that contract, and when he had the whole punch issue, I think he could just be in a slump. And the reason that they're having a bigger problem dealing with the Jordan Poole slump and dealing with the Klay Thompson down shooting time is because of those defensive numbers you showed, Malika. They are not used to being a bottom 4 defensive team. They're 27th right now. And when you are
to stay on the Nets,
it makes everything harder. It makes going on the road harder. It makes bad shooting stretches harder. It makes a weaker bench harder. When you can't get stops, it eliminates your margin for error. And the Warriors have been famous for a huge margin for error. And so if they could just start defending better, and that might take a transaction to help their bench, I think a lot of things would improve, potentially including the attitudes in the locker room.
Well, and we talk about defensive efficiency. When you say 27th, that's after being 2nd in the league last year, Zach.
It's a drop off the likes of which I can never recall. And this is the whole thing. You can't win road, home, on Mars. It doesn't matter. If you're 27th in defense, by the way, the only teams below them are Houston, San Antonio, and Detroit. I don't think they're really trying to win the title this year, those 3 teams. If you're that low on defense, you can't win. They're 24th in defensive rebounding. They can't get a rebound. They're dead last in opponent free throw rate because they're getting blown by at the point of attack time and time again, which means guys are reaching from behind and fouling people. And last night, like Perk said, uncharacteristic communication breakdowns, losing guys in transition, just not the Warriors. And we can talk about shooting slumps and all that. Until you're not 27th in defense anymore, none of this is going to change.
Vince, what are you looking at here?
I'm looking at nobody's afraid of the big bad wolf right now.
point blank. You know, Steve Kerr said that everybody wants to play them and kick their behind, and that's really it. Everybody comes out like, hey, you know, we can beat these guys. We can do this. And to add to it, the body language, you're seeing head down, you know, and so when you're losing like this, everything is magnified. You know, if you're winning some games, you really don't notice Jordan Poole's slump or Klay Thompson's slump, but winning kind of cures everything. And right now they're not doing that. And you're going time and time again on the road where you have to be together as a unit, and you can't do that because it's a bunch of individuals right now, which we
Morant in Memphis Grizzlies. So that's a match that you guys. Kyrie Irving was off, completing his. Hey, what's up, guys? Jack from Jaggy Sports here. November 20th is.
Maybe we're okay with this. We're going to give them a little bit more benefit of the doubt to have a little bit more time.
Hey, what's up, guys? Jack from Jaggy Sports here. November.
You got to get right real quick, and I think the Golden State Warriors know that. We still have a lot to go.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, guys? Jaggy from Jaggy Sports here. In case anyone was sleeping under a rock yesterday, Kevin Durant did an interview where he pretty much said what was wrong with the Nets, and he basically has no help, and that's why they're not doing so great this year. So all these media channels, Get Up, ESPN First Take, NBA Today, they're all talking about the fact that I think it's time to trade Kevin Durant, because if you trade him, he still has about 3.5 years left on his contract, so he is gonna play. But the problem here is, who would you trade him to? And a lot of people were saying last night or this morning, considering the fact that the Golden State Warriors lost to the Phoenix Suns, Klay Thompson was not Klay Thompson last night. He is struggling, so are the Warriors. Stephen Curry needs help, and you know, Steve Kerr basically said, we're not going to be the same next year or the year after that, but that's, everybody already knows that. They just sent James Wiseman to the G League, promising rookie to the G League, right? So, and they have Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, they got Andrew Wiggins, they got a lot of pieces. So a lot of people are talking about trading KD to the Warriors. And that's not a bad idea, because KD and Steph Curry are phenomenal players, right? You put them on the same team, they're legit. But the only problem here is, who do you trade for KD? Because I get it, if you trade Klay Thompson, he's not the same Klay Thompson. You got to give up more pieces than that. If you trade Draymond Green, that's cool, and you know they make that tandem makes about $60 million right there. So I'm guessing Brooklyn Nets would throw in Joe Harris as well. They throw in Joe Harris. They got Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, but I don't think they're going to go for that. They want their young pieces. They want Andrew Wiggins for sure. They don't want Klay Thompson. They're going to want Jordan Poole. You know, at the end of the day, would you make that trade for KD? Who would you give up as a Golden State owner? If you were the Golden State owner, Golden State Warriors owner, who would you give up in a trade to get Kevin Durant back to the Golden State Warriors? Because Stephen Curry he's going to last maybe about another 5 years, I'm guessing, or 4 or 5 years. Same thing with Kevin Durant. And if you want to keep this dynasty going, that's what you do, right? You got all these young pieces. If you want to do that, and they're not they are risk takers, so they might just do this. So this could be an epic trade happening in the next few months. And if I'm Sean Marks, based on what KD said last night about the whole, you know, we're not prepared. Kyrie Irving is in his situation. They're not extending him. for other reasons. They're stuck with Nick Claxton, a lot of other pieces out there. Brooklyn's a mess, and I thought Warriors could get their act straightened by now, but they have not. Klay Thompson, he's struggling big time right now. He's only shooting like 30% from the field. Draymond Green, I don't know what he's doing. He's a leader in the playoffs, not now. They got their butts kicked by Phoenix last night, and Mikal Bridges pretty much taunting Klay Thompson, and Klay Thompson is not himself. So at the end of the day, I don't know. I just think that if the trade were to happen, I think, Golden State Warriors should do it. They should actually give up their young core for Kevin Durant, because Kevin Durant's a hooper. He's not going to stop. He is the best player in the world. And, if he comes back to a legit team with Stephen Curry who's playing unbelievable, he has help. Golden State Warriors could go on another run for another couple years. Tell me what your thoughts are. Should the Golden State Warriors trade for Kevin Durant? And should the Nets owner trade Kevin Durant to the Golden State Warriors? Tell me what your thoughts are. This is Jag from Jaggy Sports.